I'm Steph. This is my channel, Cursed or Crushing It. If you're new here, welcome so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me a chance. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. If you like my videos, I would greatly appreciate it if you considered subscribing. If you don't like my videos, please let me know why down in the comments. I am very interested in creating a list and a ranking system of the different romance fantasy vampires. So if you have any vampires or any series vampires that you would like to see included in those, please let me know down in the comments as well. All right, hi. How are you? Today, I have some unfortunate news for me and maybe for you. Probably not for you though. This is, pretty low stakes stuff over here. I'm a Kindle girly, right? I like to read books via Kindle, partially because I travel a lot and I have terrible luck with actually keeping my hard copy books in condition that I want to keep them in, which admittedly is pristine. Yeah, I travel a lot, therefore I like to use my Kindle. One of the things about Kindle that I have since become a little bit invested in, I guess, is the fact that on the Kindle app, the fact that it records not only your daily streak of reading, but your weekly streak. Let me pull this up here. I had a reading streak. I kept this reading streak when I was in Europe for a week even, and I was really proud of that because I was worried that I wouldn't really have time to read at all. And that was back in August. Look at all these little flames here. From June 4th, literally up until August 25th. So this was like a while. This was like 100 and something days or something. It was a lot of days that I had this reading streak going. And I was really, really hyped on getting my reading streak to an entire year. I wanted to go an entire year with reading once a day on a way that was going to automatically track it for me. I am terrible about tracking these things myself. Like Storygraph, good freaking luck, Steph. I don't like going into apps every day and having to track and record things. I am pretty bad about maintaining a streak that I have to log. Oh hey, When the Moon Hatched is on Kindle Unlimited now. That's pretty cool. But so while I was reading Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, a book that I was having issues getting through, and I mean, if you've read it, you probably know exactly what I'm talking, exactly why I'm saying that, but don't worry, I'll go into it because today, spoiler alert, we are going to finish this book. Whether or not, today we are going to finish this book. Okay, here, let me open my Kindle and we can have the cover up. So, Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. This is the book that we're going to be finishing today. This video is going to be a little bit different. We are currently in my den. This is my sun tapestry. That reminds me of the sun. It is considerably darker down here than it is in my office, as you can probably tell. Before I really even finish this book, I just wanted to express how incredibly frustrating it was that this book was boring enough, at least in the first half. The second half, I will say, has picked up quite a bit. It was so boring, and there was such a lack of interesting things, I will say. There were things happening in the first half of this book, but there was such a lack of interesting things happening in this book and things that I wanted to know about and observe. There was such a lack of that in the first half of this book that it was just a total slog for me to get through it. And I was reading Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil at the same time, and so when it came time for me to sit down and read, the book that I wanted to pick up was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil because I loved the whole gothic vibe to it. I loved seeing, the characters. If you haven't seen my video about that book, I'll link it. I don't know, let's link it right here. I'll put it there. I would highly recommend going to watch that video. I really liked that book for about 98% of it. The very end of it was awful, and it really kind of ruined the rest of the book for me, I'll be honest. But if you know, you know. I feel like that's been a pretty common sentiment around people who've read this book that I've talked to, at least. Anyway, that's not the point of this video. Because I was reading these two at the same time, and because I was interested in my physical book of the month book more so than my Kindle book that I was reading, to the extent where I would read the other book and fall asleep to that rather than pulling this bad boy out and reading a couple pages before I fell asleep, I lost my Kindle reading streak, and I am a little bit salty at Miss Broadbent for writing such a boring book. No, I'm not. That's not, no. But I am just a little bit salty that like this book literally drove me to break my streak. So I have beef with this book. I was pretty proud of my streak. I really want to try and get to like a 365 streak. I've never done that, I think, in any app. Today, we are going to be finishing Ashes in the Star-Cursed King. I will probably give you some brief thoughts afterwards. I might just sit here and just roast this book, but I will say this is going to be full spoilers. Yeah, don't worry. You'll be made aware well of these spoilers before they actually come. I'll try to give like a brief overview or something if anyone's interested in reading it and like doesn't quite know what they're going to be walking into. But God, I don't know if I can really recommend this book right now. I am here to tell you that we are going to have a cozy reading kind of vlogging style day with recording. I hope you like it. I would like to give just quickly one update on the Twilight and Midnight Sun tandem read that I definitely posted about and promised you all. So I don't know that I am really going to have much time in the last part of this year to finish that tandem read and to give you like a part 1, 2, and 3. I would like to put out a part 1. I might be able to do that next week, in the next week or so, depending on how far I can get through those books and if I can get to that first third of both of them, which I think is very possible, especially with Thanksgiving coming up. However, I actually have a travel job. I don't travel all the time. It kind of ebbs and flows, and I would say that December is definitely going to be a flow period. Namely, my Twilight stuff, it is going to be delayed. If not the Twilight and Midnight Sun reread, like the part 1, 2, and 3, it is going to be a 3-part video. Either part 2 and 3 will be delayed, or all of them will be delayed into next year. That being said though, I do have like 5 library books that just came through on my Kindle, and so those will be the ones that I'll be reading as much as I can while I'm off traveling this December. If you're new here, thank you so much for giving me a chance and clicking on this video. If you are not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you like these videos by leaving, a little thumbs up at the bottom. And if you don't like these videos, just let me know why in the comments. I would love to continuously improve what I'm doing. I will say that it is hard to hurt my feelings. Please don't try though. Today's fun drink is coffee. I am going to sit down, shut up. Well, I guess I've already sat down, but I'm going to shut up and read. How much do we have left of this book? So we're on page 422 out of 618. That means that we have approximately 100 and... Okay, we have approximately 200 pages left. It's like 190 something. I'm kind of a slow reader. I generally read like 30 to 40 pages an hour. 3 times 7 is 21. So, oh my God, 7 hours? I don't think it's going to take me 7 hours to finish this book. Let's see how far we get. I'll check in when I've gotten somewhere. Afra, what are your thoughts on wet food versus dry food? Which one's better, do you think? Hi. We're back. I have a new drink. Let's lock in and try and finish this book. I really am so distracted today. So, what else? Let's freaking do this. Yeah. Come closer. God, I feel like a princess with this whole reading setup right now. Just an update. I got through exactly 2%. So, whoops. See, this is why I don't make a ton of progress. I just remembered. I have laundry that I need to go transfer really quick. It wasn't ready. I'm just deaf. I swear to God, if anything bad happened to Mish, I'm going to kill everyone in this book.
The next day.
Alright, hi. It's now the next day. I'm not filming this with my mic right now. I still haven't finished. The hope is that we are going to finish today. I had, I don't know, I guess stuff to do last night. I ended up not reading. I'm hoping for this video to come out tomorrow, literally, so I am going to buckle down this morning. I am going to finish this book. I have about 2 hours left in it, at least according to Kindle, so hopefully that actually ends up being 2 hours for me. And yes, I will check in later. I got a big pot of coffee. Hello. But I got a big pot of coffee brewed. I got a big mug of it here with me. Wish me luck. Let's hope I don't get distracted. Okay. Catch y'all later. And now it's like every single chapter is ending right as something interesting is about to happen, and then boom, POV shift. Oh, did you think this really cool thing was about to happen? Boom, POV shift. Like, oh my God. Hey, Afro. 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 Afro, she's leaving me. Afro. No. Afro has left the room. I swear I'm gonna watch this back and then I'm gonna figure out why it takes me so long to do things. I feel like my little timer here on the Kindle is like never accurate. It's because of stuff like this. People got too many other people in their heads in this book. Shit, shit, shit. Still works? I got coffee in my blanket. Hey, my mistake. Oraya did live in a house. She didn't live in an apartment. Spot for Afro. Oh, you wanna go? Oh, you wanna go right here? Okay. Hi. Hi, Mom. Okay, let's get ourselves a candle. Today's fun drink on the menu. I do have some water with me, but I'm a little bit hungry. So I have this Chobani drink. These are nice. They don't have any sugar in them. And then I also have a grocery store hard seltzer. What makes it grocery store is that it's 4%. One thing about myself as a reader is that I find it really hard to just not finish books. And especially with this book, so this is the book that I'm going to be reviewing today is called The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. And this book is the second book in a series of what is going to be 8 books, or what is currently possibly 8 books. But this is the second in a duet. So the series is the Crowns of Nyaxia series. There are 6 like primary books that I'm aware of, and then 2 books that are related to it, but that were originally introduced as their own standalone novels. So I have read the first 2. I've read the first, I guess, duet, if you will. It's the Nightborn duet. This is Raihn and Oraya's story that I'm going to be talking about today. I've also read Six Scorched Roses, which is a tongue twister for me to say. That is Vale and Lilith's story. And I've done a review on The Serpent and the Wings of Night and Six Scorched Roses. I'll link that video here. But so I really wanted to finish this second book, and I realized as I was trying to get into Twilight and Midnight Sun that I had just this kind of nagging feeling of, no, I really need to finish Ashes in the Star-Cursed King. Then I also saw the final edit of Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, that video that I did, and I realized that I promised that. So I wanted to follow through on my promise. So I sat down over the last, day and a half, and I decided to finish this book. I went from about 60% to finished, in the last day and a half, because I just wanted to get it over with, but also because it became actually very compelling in that time frame. So yeah, I both set a goal and stuck to it, but then I didn't mind reading it in the end. The second half was not as unenjoyable as the first half was for me. I guess I'll put it that way. From there, let's just jump into the review, just the general review of what all this book is about and what kind of is going on. Now, because this is a sequel in a series, I obviously can't give you too much of the story without giving away basically the entire first book, or at least how, the first book ends if you haven't read that yet. So while I'm reviewing it, I'll just kind of try and keep things general and refer to major events without naming exactly what they are. So, okay, let's just jump into it. So for as far as who all is in this book is still focused on Raihn and Oraya. Like I said previously, this is the second book in their duet. So they are the central couple. There are two main characters. All of the points of view that we get in this book are from Raihn and Oraya. And this is the completion of their love story. Basically all of our other major characters from the last book are bopping around. So we see Mish hanging out. Septimus is going to hang out with us at one point. From Six Scorched Roses, we also do see Vale and Lilith bopping around. At some points, when Vincent is very much in Oraya's ear in the first book, we're still hearing him in her ear very much throughout the second book. And it's exactly as unfortunate as you think it's going to be, because Vincent is unfortunate. But then, in addition to that, we are also now introduced to just a lot of Rishon nobility, and they're kind of nameless and faceless. However, there is one guy, Simon. He is kind of the top of the top Rishon nobility that we kind of we see him from across a crowded room because he's just so important. He's a really important piece in the politics that are really moving around in this book. And so just kind of diving into from there, what the major arc in this book is, what it's primarily about, what's going on in here. The first book is definitely about the Kajari. It has a lot of action. It's very much about Oraya kind of, finding who she is through the lens of this Kajari and finding out that she is quite strong and having that kind of journey of self-discovery. I would say that this second book is primarily driven by politics, but it's also driven in a large part by character growth. And when I say this, I mean that we are learning a ton about all of our main characters, so both Oraya and we're learning a lot about Raihn. We learn quite a bit about Vincent and Mish. We learn a lot about a lot of people and a lot of their backstories. And we learn how their backstories and the lives that they've previously lived have shaped who they are and the choices that they're making right now and the people that they're kind of on their way to becoming as we move through this book. I found the first half of this book to be really, really slow. I found some of the plot points to not make sense. At one point we get to this, place, and I was sitting there, I was reading it, I was like, wait,
why are we here again? I don't get it.
So I thought that some of the movements that we make in this book, I thought didn't really make a lot of sense, and I didn't find it very compelling. I felt like the only reason that we even had these movements in the first place were to just kind of illustrate how something that we already knew about one of the characters was indeed a fact about that character, because, oh, look at what they've done previously. Look at what they did to this one thing in this one place that's very far off to that we've now shown up at. Yep, confirmation. Not a good person. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, you already kind of showed me that in the last book. Like, why do I care at this point? Just kind of going in that same vein, I feel like there was just kind of a lot of strife for the sake of strife. You know, like,
Oh no, this person that I knew was a bad person is a bad person. Oh no, this makes me feel terrible. Because this thing that I already knew was true is still true.
I don't know. It's like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to like get upset over it because like we already knew that this person was a bad person. Why is this so much worse now? I don't know. Well, I do know. I think that it's stupid. I think that it's a good way to show that if you're trying to like build a character and if we don't quite know that he's bad or not. But I feel like the fact that we already do and the fact that everyone in this book is telling us that this person is bad and then we're just getting further confirmation and being shocked by it, I think that that is kind of stupid personally. But yeah, whatever. I guess the thing is, like with Oraya, she doesn't fully believe that. So we're really seeing her come to terms with that, and we're really seeing that dismantle for her. So in the first half, yeah, we see a lot of this strife, just kind of for the sake of strife. And another way that we see that, in addition to the illustrations of how something that we already knew is indeed a fact, we also have a lot of just miscommunication between her and Raihn. And I know this is definitely a trope of romance stories. This is a tried and true thing that some people do like. I'm not here to really, say that that's an awful opinion to like this kind of thing, but it just really is not for me. And at least the way that it's presented here, I feel like there can be compelling ways to present miscommunication, but I feel like the way that it was like handled here, it just felt like miscommunication, like really forced on them because Oraya and Raihn had such good understanding to begin with, and from like the beginning when they kind of first partnered up during the Kajari. So I really don't understand why they're just like suddenly having all of this miscommunication because we see it on both sides of them that they both know how important it is that they are perceived correctly. So I don't understand how them committing to that correct perception of them like from the public is translating so hard to a miscommunication between the two of them. And then that miscommunication is now just leading to the second guessing between the two of them. But like they're second guessing while also reminding themselves that they do in fact know the full truth. And so like it just really makes no sense because it feels like all of this was resolved in the last book. And I don't like it. It's just not welcome to come up again. Why are we still here? Yeah, I don't understand why we're still here if this is something that we already resolved in the first book. I think that they could have probably a different kind of struggle if there really needs to be a struggle between the two of them too. I don't know. Why can't we ever have like a romance story where at least a sequel like this where a couple that's in love gets to stay in love the whole time and like have the conflict be something external and not like an internal conflict between the two of them. I think that that would be perfectly acceptable, and I think that that would work for this couple personally. But who am I to say? So that kind of gets us through like the whole first half. I feel like almost nothing happens in the first half except for just like a lot of like moodiness and strife. But then in the second half, a lot of the threads that are kind of laid out in the first half that are, yeah, just kind of like set out there and, left to ponder.
Bolts are in, amigo! What's left to ponder?
A lot of these threads that we see, they pay off so handsomely. And I will say, so I went from about 60% of this book to finished in 2 days, maybe like a day and a half, compared to weeks, like the weeks that it took for me to get through the first 55% of this book. I felt like we were going from this slow and painful like slog of a story to suddenly this like very fast, very smutty, like action-packed book, which like I kind of really needed with this setup, and I'm really glad that it paid off that way. And I I will say that like the second half of this book really bumped up my enjoyment of the entirety of this book. So like go off, right? In the second half, a lot of the threads that have been laid out in the first half really pick up. They pay off really handsomely. I really enjoyed reading about it. And yeah, the book just like picks up, takes off, and it goes to this, yes, amazing, sexy place full of action. And I really enjoyed reading it. If I wasn't like sitting down and filming myself reading it, I probably still would have finished it in the exact same time frame. So in this book, I would say throughout this book, but I would say especially in the second half, like definitely concentrated in the second half, we learn a ton about pretty much every major person's past in this series so far and all of their stories. It's really fascinating to see how it really plays out in the book and like how their past actions especially have been informed by their history. But like I will say, at least in terms of Raihn and Oraya, for as much as these characters are really learning about themselves and really taking these like deep introspective looks at who they are and why they are who they are, their personalities as they are like living and moving about through the world, they are basically the same from the beginning of the book through the end. Oraya starts out full of piss and vinegar and she ends full of piss and vinegar. Raihn starts out a romantic that just wants to see, the world burn, and he ends as a romantic that kind of wants to see the world burn still. So, like, they largely stay the same. But what is changing in this book is their understanding of each other and their ability to like see where the other person is coming from with more clarity and to just like get it, I guess. So as much as like, yeah, we're having these deep introspective dives, the result of that isn't necessarily like a changing of the character themselves. It's just a changing of how they understand the other person. And that is the thing that ends up changing the relationship and transitioning it into what it becomes at the end of the book. And speaking of the end of this book, just in general terms, I thought that this book ended really well. I loved how it was done. This is basically like an opposite arc of Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, which is funny because I meant to be reading these two at the same time. So where that one was letting me down, this one is lifting me up now at the very end. But so this book ends in a really satisfying way. We get a really nice sense of closure for Raihn and Oraya, but then it also does a really nice job of setting up different threads and plot points that we're going to be following up on in different books. So, for example, it sets up 2 or 3, I would say, really prominent characters that we've seen throughout the first 2 books to be really banging main characters at some point. People that you really want to see, people that you really want to root for. It really sets up a few people to be someone that you'll want to see and like read a book about later at some point. I have the advantage of reading this series long after it has started to come out. So I know that one of the characters, like literally the blurb when I finished the book, it was like, go read this person's book, you want to. And as this book was wrapping up, I was saying to myself like, oh yes, no, we're definitely going to get a book about this person. So yeah, I mean, I have that kind of advantage now, but to see like that immediate payoff, but it's really cool to see like how it was wrapped up and how it was all handled. I don't know. I love. So it was really nice getting to see the like that end and that closure that, that happily ever after for Raihn and Oraya come to fruition and to see how we get there. And so from here, I would like to go into spoilers for this book. Different chapter, different time. Okay. So let's talk about the first half of this book. So in the first half, one of like the major things that we're doing, right, is we have this Evelina arc. And I thought that arc was honestly kind of pointless. I understand that it illustrated that Vincent was a ruthless person and that he was ruthless to his entire family. Yes, that's great. Love seeing the illustration, put your money where your mouth is, Vincent. But like, we already knew this about him. This was like very known about his lore. And I don't really know that it added anything to him or his character to see the fruits of his labor, which was this abandoned city of Lahore. You know, I feel like the same thing could have been achieved from them just going to Lahore and seeing it as just seemingly abandoned, and then having a feral vampire attack from someone that like was not related to him at all, but instead from like some former noble that resents Vincent for doing this to them and for killing the nobility there, or like a family member of theirs who's lost all of their money from their family's business from being associated with the royals of that city. You know, like I feel like that could have paid off a lot better. And then on top of that, all we have to see is that Evelina, like all we're really there and seeing that's like shocking about Evelina is that she has turned a bunch of children to be her like court. And that was just creepy, because they talk about in the book the fact that turned children are in fact like they're frozen. You know, it's Edward Cullen all over again. Edward Cullen 2.0. So the vampires in this world, right? If you're turned, you're stuck at that age forever, like a picture. But if you're born, then you get to grow up and you get to age and I guess the dying part of it, they're kind of exempt to, but like, yeah, you actually like grow up and become an adult and your brain can mature. So the fact that Evelina has turned a bunch of children to be her court, everyone that's there has issue with it, because these children are just frozen in time and she's just like kind of having them follow her around and be, yeah, like her companions. It's super weird. It never comes up again. We don't get any closure on this. Like they just kind of kill her and then just wander off into the sunset. I mean, to be fair, Evelina almost kills Oraya, and then Oraya has to go recover for several weeks. But like, are you kidding me? You know, this is happening in the midst of this first half of this book where everything is like being really moody and serious because both Raihn and Oraya are just not having a good time. And they're not having a good time because of the whole fallout of the Kajari. So Raihn kills Vincent. Raihn uncovers himself as the heir to the Rishon Nightborn throne. Raihn is now in charge. He is a Nightborn king, but he resents being the Nightborn king. Because he killed Vincent, now Oraya has the Hiaj heir mark for the Nightborn throne. Because of that, Oraya is figuring out that she is Vincent's biological daughter, and therefore she is a half vampire. While they're in Lahore with Evelina, trying to like, you know, figure out more about Vincent and where he hid this supposedly really crazy power that he has access to that he created while he was the Nightborn king. So while they're trying to like get more information on this, Oraya is figuring out, oh, Vincent's my biological dad. Oh, I'm a half vampire. And then Raihn's like, oh my God, do you know what? Maybe you have wings. That would be so cool. And so while they're in Lahore with this crazy Evelina gal who has this court of turned children that she's created, Raihn is like, yeah, why don't you whip out your wings, girl? And he like pushes her off the side of a building. She conjures her wings. She's super excited. She's like, whoa, this is amazing. I have wings now. I caught myself. And she's like having a great time with that. Meanwhile, he like flits off into oblivion immediately without telling her, oh, this is how you like, you know, get your wings like back in, basically. This is how you disappear them. So who is not equipped to put away her wings and disappear them but Oraya? And who gets ambushed by Evelina but Oraya after Raihn has just left? I mean, granted, Oraya did ask him to leave. Raihn has just left her alone in this spooky city with this spooky lady with these spooky children, and she... And lo and behold, she gets attacked and her wings get completely maimed, and now she can't conjure them back into her body even if she knew how to, because they're too injured, and we've learned that it's nearly impossible to do that. So like, God, Raihn just like fumbled it completely. Like I don't know how you could fumble it anymore, honestly. Like I don't even know why this is relevant to the story, right? Like all we have now is just like her feeling crappy about how her wings have been maimed, because she couldn't put them away because she just learned that she had them and she's never used them before in her life. And it just seems like a really unnecessary plot point because all that we have there is just her bonding with Mish while she's healing. And then, yeah, like granted, we get like this sexy little massage of, you know, Raihn like teaching her and like trying to get her to relax her wings so that he can like knead out some of like the muscles and like help her out a little bit and like navigating them. Like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like at what cost? I feel like you could have done this maybe not in like a very questionable city. You know, I don't know. Let's just like have some thoughts here, sir. You got her there without her wings. You could have gotten her back to a safe place with her wings and then done this at home. Like, oh my God, where someone isn't gonna like immediately pierce them. I don't know. Can we like have some thoughts?
Raihn?
But anyway, so they were in Lahore. Now they're out of Lahore because, you know, that was spooky as hell. And don't worry, they'll never come back. But so then, like, shortly after that, we get like another flashback to Vincent. And we find out that Vincent, who is incapable of love and who is basically like a stone and just like the scariest Nightborn king ever, Oraya's, you know, dad. We find out that Vincent, when he was a child, watched his father throw his newborn baby brother into a like clump of demons, like off of a balcony, you know, just like throw the whole child away. So that's gotta be scarring. And I can understand why Vincent would be wary of loving people if he watched his dad do that to his newborn baby brother, literally a child. Not even a child, a newborn baby. I already said it. This flashback is kind of like, is like the flag bearer of all of the instances where Oraya is going to learn something about Vincent that is going to slowly dismantle her image of this man throughout the book. So she started out from a place of thinking, Vincent's the only person who is on my side. He is one of the only people who loves me. He's the only person who will ever love me, besides my friend who got killed in the last book. He is the only person that I can really trust. And she is going to have that dismantled throughout this book, brick by brick. And it kind of starts with that whole flashback of how he learned to be so vicious through watching the demise of his newborn baby brother at the hand of his father. And I will say that this is one of the major changes. This is namely one of the only changes I think that I can see in Oraya throughout this book. Her view of Vincent is dismantled until it's completely changed and gone from where it started. And I think that that's really cool because Vincent was really not looking out in her best interest. We learn throughout this book that he was a liar and a half to her, that he withheld a lot of things from her, and that he was really not good to her mother, because we also learn about her mother in this book, and we learn that he really wronged her. You get to see exactly how it plays out, and just, it's a really compelling story to see how exactly he betrays Oraya's mother, and how that plays into her life that she lives with him, like for the next 25 years. This dismantling and this scene also kind of kick off our second half of the book, where we quickly see a coup happen. So all of the nobles, all of the Raihn nobles are super, super resentful of having Raihn as their king. So Raihn is a turned vampire. Most nobility are born vampires. And then Raihn, to make it worse, he was also a slave to the former Nightborn king. So these Raihn nobility are like, are you kidding me? I am not going to bow down to this man. He literally used to be a slave to me under the last king. Like, nice try. Not this one. I'm not listening to him. So because of that, Simon, he instigates this whole coup that just kind of sends everything into orbit. And the rest of the book from there basically spirals until it ends in this really cool flurry of action, self-discovery, battles, all this kind of stuff. And it goes from very moody to very action-packed and very sexy. That was the word I was looking for. Now, too, the mood has totally shifted. Raihn and Oraya, I guess, are feeling a lot better because for the latter half of this book, book, the two of them are just throwing out one-liners like every opportunity they get, even though things are like very much, you know, it's like 1,000% more likely that they're about to die at this point. They are throwing out those one-liners. Like, don't even worry about it. We also get a horribly lovely Sarah J. Maas type sewage moment, and I hate it so much, but it, you know, I guess you gotta, if you gotta sneak, you gotta sneak. That's the takeaway I got from there. We also get an amazing army building and like a uniting montage. We get to see Raihn and Oraya just fall madly back in love with each other and kind of like figure out their miscommunication and like, you know, disbelieving of each other without even really having to talk to each other about it, and just like figuring out things about themselves. It's crazy how that one worked out, but I guess, you know, it worked out for them. I'm not going to question it. Yay, Raihn and Oraya, you guys were always destined to be together. I knew it from the moment I read the back of the book. As they're, you know, uniting their armies and doing and building it and everything, we magically, because Raihn and Oraya are just so madly in love, turns out they're two armies that have spent millennia just absolutely hating each other for, you know, just like the type of wings that each other has. They are also getting along well. Everything is great, and they are on their way to take the city back from Simon. Ew, Simon. We just get this whole montage. And honestly, it's great. Was the sewage awful? Yes. Did I complain about it to my husband while I was reading it? Also, yes. Was it compelling? 1,000%. Then from there, you know, we're on our way. We are taking back the city. It's kind of amazing that we're able to take the city back at all, because, or at least that we're able to attempt it at all, because this army is just kind of like, because this army is just very much thrown together. It really shows. But then, like, you know, they have just a ton of heart, and so they're trying to make it happen. First, they do kind of fail. They suffer significant casualties, but then, you know, they like recoup, and then they come up with another plan to go forward. What is that plan? Oraya might find a weapon, and it might work, and we're going to follow her there and see if she can get this weapon. We have no idea what the weapon is. Is it good? I have no idea. Is it actually going to do anything? Also no idea. But are we going to follow her there and just hope that it works? Yeah, absolutely. So that is exactly what they do. They put all of their eggs in one unknown basket. They follow Oraya to try and go and get a really powerful weapon, which is what they were looking for in the beginning of the book. But now it's a much more compelling way because there's an active war following her on her quest, which is kind of cool. But I guess that is a lot of pressure. I'm not there. I don't have to do it. I'm just watching. But so during the battle that's like happening around her as she's like trying to go look for this, the weapon is a piece of a god. And in this case, the piece is blood. So she is going to go look for this god blood as the weapon. She's the only one that can do it because of who she is, because of the fact that she's related to Vincent and she's related to her mom. So she's going to go look for this god blood and go look for this weapon. And the bad guy, Simon, keep in mind, they are like on her tail. Turns out Simon had god teeth, and he made that into a weapon, and he just like planted it right in his sternum. So now Simon has gone absolutely insane. He is a feral weapon, for like lack of a better word. Oraya, just in the nick of time, she finds the god blood. She's supposed to swallow it, and then it's supposed to do like something, but what does she do? She does not swallow it. She takes it and she holds it above her head like she's in Stardew Valley, and she's like, yo, Nyaxia, do you want your husband's blood? And Nyaxia is like, she like opened the clouds, she like peeps through, and she's like, bitch, what? Not really. She like floats down, and she like does her little like god floating above the ground thingy, and she's like, bitch, what you talking about? But then she notices Simon, and she's like, what did you do to my husband's teeth? Because I guess like only this one god was divvied up into body parts to be weapons around the world. So yeah, she like sees what they did to his teeth, and she's like, bitch, what? And so she like, I think it's like Aztec style, she just like sticks her hands into his chest and just like rips it out. And she's like, thank you very much. These are mine. I think that she takes the blood from Oraya when Oraya is like offering it to her, but I'm assuming they do. But like, they don't actually say if she does or not. At least I don't remember them saying that. Yeah, Nyaxia, she's pissed off at Simon. She takes the teeth just straight out of his chest. Simon dies immediately, which is like great. Oraya, like, yeah, she's offering her the blood of her husband. And in exchange for it, she asks for a Coriatis bond with Raihn, which Coriatis bond, if you remember from the first book, if you read that book, the Coriatis bond will bind them together, so it'll make it so they can't hurt each other and that they share each other's power. And it's it's the bond that Vincent wanted to have with her to ensure that she couldn't kill him, and that was like very selfish on Vincent's part, but it would also like share some of his power with her and then her power with him. But in this case, Raihn is actively dying, and Oraya wants a Coriatis bond with him so that she can save Raihn. And also, so that they can rule together in peace. And so she asks Nyaxia for this. Nyaxia is like, you're joking, right? Why would I ever why would I ever make you two Coriatis? If the Rishon and the Hiaj within the House of Night are not battling, I have no gain. Like, that's a net loss for me. Absolutely not. Bye. And then she leaves. And so Oraya then turns to Acacia. She is the goddess of... Acacia is the goddess of fate, spellcasting, mystery, and lost things. So she's also involved in like futures and stuff. So the way that she's described, she has 10 fingers on each hand. She has 6 pairs of wings, and these wings are all showing you different futures that could happen. And then I don't know how many eyes she has, but she is like this freaky looking thing, but she can like weave together futures and stuff. But only gods generally, so Acacia or Nyaxia or one of the other gods, only those beings can grant a Coriatis bond. So Oraya summons Acacia, which is the only other god that she can really call to because her mother was an acolyte for Acacia. She summons her and then asks for a Coriatis bond. Acacia's like, this is gonna piss off Nyaxia and she's gonna come after you. Yes. So everyone rejoice. Yay! Raihn is saved. Oraya and Raihn now have a Coriatis bond, which means that like both of them have like this awareness bonding on each other, so they can sense each other, they can sense the other person's emotions, they can sense the other person's like feelings and stuff, which kind of makes sense, right? If your life and theirs is intertwined and that person is in a dire situation where they could die, then yes, that would make sense that you would be aware of that so that you can go save them and save yourself by extension. But like, you know, I digress. They're now like awareness bonded. They can kind of like share their emotions with each other. Like they have this heightened sense of the other person now in their head, and they are bonded forever. What's really cool is that now, since they're both Coriatis bond and they both share each other's magic, they both have the air mark for the other person. So Oraya has both the chest piece and she has the back piece, and Raihn also has the back piece and the chest piece. So they're both slightly altered to be specific to to their own like body, but they both have the air marks of both tribes. So yeah, it really sets the stage for like, wow, Nyaxia is mad. She's gonna come after you guys. And Acacia even says that it's gonna happen soon. So like, we know that, so this like lays, you know, a great groundwork, right? For what, at least 4 more novels. So yeah, we have surely, who could ever predict? We surely have another battle coming up because of Nyaxia. But then also we lay this cool groundwork for the other characters that I haven't really gone into at all, for them to be their own like main characters of their own books. So I'm excited to see what the other books have to offer. I probably will not start them for a while because, like I said, I'm going to be working on Twilight. I am going to be traveling for quite a bit, and I have some library books that I really want to read and review for you guys that are kind of outside of everything else. I also really like supporting my library. I'm going to call it there. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Is it cursed or crushing it? I would say... the beginning was for sure cursed, but the end was definitely crushing it. Where am I leaving it off at? I would say The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King is definitely crushing it. I enjoyed it. The first half is cursed. I did not like it very much, but you know, you can't have it all, I guess, right? So let me know what you think down below. And again, if you like this video, please like it. If you like my videos generally, or if you want to see more of my face, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one, and it will almost certainly not be Twilight, and it may be from a different city. Bye. Shit. Still works.